And here we go again. What could turn out to be another battle over raising the debt ceiling. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned Congress that extraordinary measures will be necessary as early as January 14th unless Congress raises or in some cases suspends the debt ceiling. But conservatives and President-elect Donald Trump may not be on the same page. Joining us now to discuss is the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union, Brandon Arnold. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy New Year. Well, right now, the U.S. is sitting on around $36 trillion in debt. And, you know, the debt ceiling, of course, is the amount of money that we can borrow in order to pay our bills. Now, we have been down this road, Brandon, so many times in the past. But you heard what Janet Yellen said about the 14th. There's a window here, the 14th through the 23rd. Just once again, go over for us. What do you think is going to happen? And what happens if it doesn't get raised?
Yeah, I think what's most likely to happen here is we're going to let these measures start to kick in. Essentially, this is Yellen shifting finances around within the federal government in order to pay our obligations, like our debt service payments. That will extend the amount of time that Congress and the president have, probably till the summer, probably till about June, though we don't know precisely when. So that gives us some flexibility to hopefully come together and put a deal in place that starts to get our nation's finances back on track, something that Trump and congressional Republicans can agree upon.
So once again, elected leaders, they will have a window in order to get something worked out. But this is a little bit different this time because you have Republicans who are in control of the House, they control the Senate, they're in control of the White House. And I remember Trump said in December that the debt ceiling should be thrown out. On the flip side, you have some conservatives who are now saying that Trump will need to agree to like some deep spending cuts in order for them to agree to raise the debt limit. What is the better option here? And could you ever see any point where we would get rid of this whole debt ceiling in the future?
I don't think we should get rid of the debt ceiling. You know, that's essentially the credit card cap that we have, the spending cap that you have on the nation's credit card. So if we got rid of that, that would just empower future politicians to spend whatever the heck they wanted without concern of the implications here. So I think we should keep the debt ceiling cap. But at the same time, you know, we look back into recent history, Republicans negotiated a deal under Obama, put spending caps in place in 2011. Last year did the same thing with President Biden. So I think now that we have Republican control, there ought to be deeper cuts as a condition of lifting that cap on a temporary basis.
Now you talk about the Republicans are in control, and yeah, the speakership that's up for vote, I think it's tomorrow. So you have Mike Johnson could face a tough battle to retain his position, even after he got that endorsement from President-elect Donald Trump. First of all, where do they go from here? Is this really going to be a battle? Is there anybody waiting in the wings? Is this realistic to say there's going to be a fight? Or is Mike Johnson, can he sail to the speakership or what?
It's going to be a tough fight here, but I think Mike Johnson was picked for a reason because he unifies the conference. He has done a great job of that with a razor-thin majority. That's a more difficult task in this new Congress here. But I think Speaker Johnson's done a great job, and there's really no reason why you want to change horses midstream. History tells us that midterm elections typically go against the incumbent party. So we probably have 2 years of unified Republican control to cut spending, to get tax policy right, to start to roll back regulations, and throwing the House into chaos on day one by voting out Speaker Johnson would be a colossal mistake.
And you really don't see anyone else trying to get the job at this point, have thrown their hat in the ring. Let's talk about real quickly extending the Trump 2017 tax cuts. How big of a priority is that? How much could it add to the deficit? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so most of the tax cuts, like the lower rates for individuals and small businesses, the expanded child tax credit, all that expires at the end of this year. So it needs to be extended. We can't afford to have a massive multi-trillion-dollar tax hike on American families right now. But you're right, there are huge deficit implications. It could be $4.5 trillion or even more. So we need to find ways to cut spending, to get rid of special interest tax provisions, things that are unneeded, like EV tax credits and renewable energy production tax credits. Get rid of those credits in order to reduce the overall price tag of this package. Make sure we preserve those tax cuts without busting the budget and without sacrificing economic growth and job creation.
All right, Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayer Union, Brandon Arnold, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Angela.